What if you woke up one day and realized you might be a monster? Not because someone told you, not because you remember doing something wrong, but because the evidence is there, and you don't remember any of it. Today we are talking about My Dearest Self with Malice Aforethought, one of the most underrated psychological thriller manga I've ever read. And trust me, this one gets uncomfortable. The story follows Eiji Rashima, a seemingly normal college student. He has friends, he has a girlfriend, he lives a relatively peaceful life. But there's one problem. He keeps losing time. Not hours, not moments. Entire days disappear from his memory. And during those missing hours, someone else might be in control. What makes this manga different from other psychological series is how grounded it feels. There are no supernatural powers, no fantasy elements, just trauma, identity, and the terrifying fragility of the human mind. At first, you think this is going to be a standard split personality story, but it's not that simple. The tension comes from uncertainty. Is Eiji a victim, or is he manipulating everyone around him? Is he protecting himself from trauma, or hiding something much darker? The manga constantly shifts your perception. Every time you start trusting the protagonist, the story pulls the rug from under you, and that's where it becomes brilliant. This story becomes truly powerful in the way it explores identity. Who are we, really? Are we defined by our actions, our memories, our intentions? The manga subtly touches on dissociation, a real psychological response to trauma, where the mind separates itself from unbearable experiences. Without turning it into a medical lecture, the story uses this concept to explore something much darker. If a part of you commits something unforgivable, is that still you? And that moral tension elevates the entire narrative. If I had to compare My Dearest Self with Malice Aforethought to another manga, I'd say it shares emotional DNA with Oyasumi Punpun. Not because they tell the same story, but because both explore something deeply uncomfortable, the darkness that can grow inside a normal person. In Oyasumi Punpun, the horror is internal. It's about depression, isolation, emotional collapse. In My Dearest Self with Malice Aforethought, the horror feels more psychological and criminal, but the root is similar. Both stories ask, how much of our identity is shaped by trauma? And at what point does pain turn into something destructive? The key difference is this. Punpun is about watching someone slowly break. My Dearest Self with Malice Aforethought is about realizing someone might already be broken, and you didn't notice. One is tragic, the other is terrifying, and that subtle difference completely changes how you experience the story. This is the question that carries the story. Is Eiji someone suffering from trauma and trying to survive? Or is he someone carefully hiding behind a fractured identity? The manga refuses to give easy answers, and that moral grayness is what makes it compelling. There's no clear hero, just layers of uncertainty, and that feels disturbingly human. What makes this manga stand out is how patient it is. It doesn't rely on constant action. Instead, it builds dread, small details, conversations that feel slightly off, moments that don't add up, and slowly, the bigger picture starts forming. But every time you think you understand what's happening, you realize you don't. The psychological pressure keeps increasing. This manga explores identity, trauma, guilt, accountability, the duality of human nature. It forces you to ask uncomfortable questions. If you commit a crime but don't remember it, Are you still responsible? If a different version of you hurts someone, is that really you? And that moral ambiguity is what makes this story so compelling. One of the most underrated aspects of My Dearest Self with Malice or Aforethought is its pacing. This isn't a story that rushes to shock you. It understands that psychological tension needs time to breathe. Instead of constant twists, the manga builds unease through subtle inconsistencies. A line of dialogue that feels slightly off. A reaction that doesn't fully match the situation. A small gap in memory that seems harmless at first. Because the story doesn't overwhelm you with chaos. It makes you slowly question everything. Each chapter adds just enough new information to shift your perspective, but never enough to give you certainty. And that controlled release of information keeps you mentally engaged. You're not just reading, you're analyzing. You're trying to predict what's real and what isn't. It turns the reader into part of the psychological game. If you're looking for fast action, constant fights, simple good versus evil, this is not for you. But if you enjoy slow-burning psychological tension, unreliable narrators, dark character studies, then this might become one of your favorites. It's uncomfortable, it's tense, and it stays in your head long after you finish reading. So here's the real question. Would you want to know if there was a version of you capable of doing terrible things, or would you rather never find out? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy psychological manga that actually mess with your mind, I have more coming.